Late last night, an announcement was made by the Congress High Command. Their attempt to end the Punjab Congress infighting is by placating Navjot Singh Sidhu. He's been made the Punjab Congress chief, but questions loom on whether that will lead to more trouble within the Punjab Congress unit, because this kind of a decision will not go down well with Captain Amarinder Singh. Let's tell you exactly what the Congress High Command has said. Navjot Singh Sidhu has been appointed as the Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee chief along with 4 other working presidents. They are Kuljit Singh Nagra, Pawan Goel, Sukhwinder Singh Danny and Sangat Singh Gilzian. They've all been appointed as working presidents. After the appointment, Sidhu visited a Gurudwara in Patiala, bowed down his head and offered prayers. His supporters also were seen celebrating his elevation in his constituency of Amritsar. The decision, however, could lead to an escalation in the war between Amarinder and Sidhu, because we all know that Captain was dead against this. He was dead against the elevation of Navjot Singh Sidhu as the chief of the Punjab Congress. This big decision by the party high command may also pose a threat of increasing factionalism in the party. It can also be viewed as a big risk for Punjab Congress, as the appointment of the new state chief comes only 6 months ahead of polls, and it may have miffed more Congress netas.
Sidhu will be an asset to the Congress in the forthcoming elections, along with Captain Amarinder Singh, who is the Chief Minister of the state and is an eminent leader of the Congress in Punjab. Both of them will lead the party to victory. I have no doubt that all party men, whatever may have been their views earlier, will now accept wholeheartedly the decision of Shrimati Sonia Gandhi, who is the supreme leader of the Congress party.
पूरे पंजाब में दिवाली का माहौल है। इस महीने में आपको दिवाली वाला, आप सुबह से देखिए कैसे आतिशबाजी और लोगों, सारे लोग, कांग्रेसी वर्कर, कांग्रेसी लीडर इतने खुश हैं, इतने फोन आए हैं और सारे पंजाब में जश्न मनाए जा रहे हैं। क्या लगता है पंजाब का विकास होगा? बिल्कुल होगा, 100% होगा जी, बहुत अच्छा होगा।
बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी का मौका है और बहुत देर से हम वेट कर रहे थे इस न्यूज़ की, और आगे तो बहुत ज़्यादा खुशी है सब।
Let's take this across to our reporters on the ground. Manjeet Sehgal is joining us live from Chandigarh. We also have Anand Patel, who tracks the Congress camp very closely. Good morning to both of you. Manjeet, I want to begin with you. A lot of celebrations as expected in the Sidhu camp. He's gotten what he wants. But the big question is, what about Captain Amarinder Singh? Is he unhappy with what's happened?
Good morning, Akshita. Well, as far as Sidhu's elevation is concerned, Sidhu's camp is very happy. Celebrations are already on at various places, be it Patiala or be it Amritsar. But as far as Captain Amarinder Singh's camp is concerned, Captain Amarinder Singh has been ignored, not only in the PPCC president's appointment, but also in terms of the 4 working presidents. He had suggested certain names that have not been considered, and those considered also include his adversaries, particularly Sangat Singh Gilzian was Captain's critic, and he was openly speaking against him. So this development is likely not to placate Captain Amarinder Singh. He's already miffed with the way High Command ignored his choices, and this can lead to further tensions in the party. The camp has already expressed reservations on various points. One, the Hindu communities, the backward communities, and the Dalits. These leaders belong to these communities, but they were not as prominent as the names suggested by Captain Amarinder Singh. Now, Captain and Sidhu should come at a single stage to lead the party, as the elections are just around the corner. But it does not seem. Captain Amarinder Singh had asked the party high command that if Navjot Singh Sidhu wants to meet him, he should first publicly apologize, because he had targeted his own government. He had made 150 tweets against Captain Amarinder Singh, which were derogatory in nature. What remains to be seen, whether Sidhu apologizes or not.
Let's see what happens, but this is very clear. Manjeet, thank you for those details. Before I take this across to Anand, let's be very, very clear that this is a snub to Captain Amarinder Singh. In no way is this a truce formula, because not one of Captain's aides have actually been accommodated in that massive rejig that we've seen within the Punjab Congress unit. Whereas you see Sidhu's aides, people that Sidhu wanted to promote, they've all actually been placated. They've all been brought into the Punjab Congress unit. Let me take you through all of the names and why Captain Amarinder Amarinder Singh really is going to be very, very upset. And it's not just about the fact that Sidhu has been elevated, but that several others have also been ignored. Remember that sources are telling India Today that Amarinder's loyalists were not taken into consideration at all during Punjab Congress unit's rejig. Hindu leaders like Vijayender Singh, Manish Tiwari, Dalit leaders like Santosh Chaudhary and Dr. Rajkumar Varka were not considered for the working president post. Sidhu's appointment as state Congress chief emboldens him despite his very, very public attacks, his very public criticism against Amarinder. It, however, also states that the Gandhis firmly back Sidhu over captain, and that's left the Amarinder camp very, very miffed. It's a number of leaders really who are backing Amarinder right now. So this is a serious problem that the Congress High Command faces. If these leaders decide to go ahead and back Amarinder Singh and say that whatever decision he takes will be okay with now, considering all the steps that have been taken right now. Let's take this across now to Anand Patel, who tracks the Congress camp very, very closely. Anand, good morning. How really is the Congress High Command going to be justifying this decision? Because if you look at it from Captain Amarinder's point of view, none of his aides have been placated or brought in. It's clear so far that the Congress High Command seems to have taken a side.
Well, Akshita, this is a well thought of decision by the party high command after a month and a half of consultation with the party MLAs, MPs, prominent leaders, Captain Amarinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu himself. So clearly, this is just not an overnight decision by the party high command, or we can say the Gandhis, to revamp the Congress unit in Punjab, which was, dissent-ridden. Certainly, yes, the certain names which were doing rounds in the public about the post of president or working president, some of them were close to Captain Amarinder Singh. They have not been considered. But one should remember the fact that this is a very balanced, team which has been set up at the top by the party high command, Navjot Singh Sidhu at the helm of the affairs in the Punjab unit, and the 4 working presidents who come from 4 different communities. If you look at Sangat Singh Gilzian, he represents the backward classes. He's from. Then we have Pawan Goel. He's from he represents the Hindu community. Then we have the Sukhwinder Singh Danny. He's from the Dalit community. So clearly, a balance has been tried to strike between all these leaders and communities. And as was pointed out by Captain Amarinder Singh, that the Hindu community should not be left out, a representation has been given. Now, the second phase of this revamp would be the cabinet expansion, which is also on the cards. Captain Amarinder Singh will be given a free hand in that, and he will be having all the opportunity to placate his people in the cabinet. We are told that 2 deputy CMs could be appointed, and more cabinet berths are also on offer. So that opportunity will always be there with Captain Amarinder Singh. But yes, as far as the party organization is considered, Navjot Singh Sidhu camp has been given the prominence, and it remains to be seen as to how these 2 teams, these 2 camps come together as the party heads towards the assembly polls.
Will they come together is still a big question mark at this point. But Anand, you're telling us that the High Command has thought this through. They're saying that the cabinet rejig, power will be given to Amarinder on that front to decide who's in and who's out. Anand, thank you very much for joining us with all those details.